I'm Haslinda Amin. Welcome to High Flyers, the show that gives you a 360-degree view of Asia's business elite. In this episode, we'll meet a self-made millionaire who swapped a career in top-class finance for world-class fighting. Let's meet Chatri Sityodtong.
He made his fortune on Wall Street, but this Thai-born businessman is now making headlines in the world of mixed martial arts. He's a former professional fighter and now the home of one of Asia's leading martial arts academies. But it hasn't always been an easy fight for Chatri Sityodtong. His family became homeless during the Asian financial crisis. Time now for this high flyer to join us on the Singapore Flyer to discuss his drive and determination.
Chatri Sityodtong, welcome to High Flyers.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have 30 fights under your belt, professional, competitive fights. Who would have thought at one time you had 2 left feet, bad hand-eye coordination, and you weren't even sporty? What a long way.
Yeah, I think that's what love can do. That's what passion can do. Yeah, I wasn't the most genetically gifted person when I first started as a child, but it's something I just absolutely loved. When I saw Muay Thai, I saw the grace, the beauty. It was just like magic to me. And it was something that I was drawn to.
What people don't know is that martial arts has helped you, took you off the streets, took you out of poverty. It's played a crucial role in your life and your career.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, back in the Asian financial crisis, my family got wiped out. My parents became homeless. We survived on 1 meal a day. And then my father eventually abandoned the family as well. And it was a very, very hard time, and my future looked very bleak. And the only thing that I really had was my martial arts training, the mental strength, the discipline, the focus, the courage, the desire for continuous self-improvement, and most importantly, an unbreakable will, a warrior spirit to conquer adversity in life. And that is something that's actually why I started Evolve, because the lessons of martial arts, the gifts of martial arts are so precious that I really believe it's the greatest platform to unleash human potential. And so that is what gave me the strength and the courage and allowed me to go from poverty and bring my family out of poverty. By the time I was age 30 or 31, I bought my mama, an apartment in New York, and I was able to get the whole family out of poverty. I paid for my my younger brother's university fees, and I just, one thing led to another. But really the root of it is my martial arts training.
But take us back to those difficult years, difficult days when your dad went bankrupt.
Yeah.
He ended up selling fruit in the street.
Yeah.
What went through your mind?
You're in such survival mode, and it's almost surreal. Like to see my mom crying, to see my family living on $5 a week, my mom would cry endlessly because she was so worried for the futures of her kids, me and my younger brother. And my younger brother would talk, and we just had no vision for the future. And that's something that, I will never forget. And that's why, maybe that's what drives me today. And my passion to change the world is that I see so much inequality in this world that I want to somehow fix it. And even my mom today, I was just talking to her, 2 nights ago, and we were reminiscing about this and how tough those times were. And I actually didn't tell many people about this. I didn't, I was kind of ashamed, especially when I went to Harvard. I was really ashamed of my background or embarrassed, and so I kept it, a secret.
You were on scholarship.
Yeah.
But you were still short of money, and because of that, you were walking and running everywhere you went.
I couldn't afford the subways. I couldn't afford taxis. I couldn't afford anything, and
you
so
delivered Chinese food.
Yes, I did that. I taught Muay Thai. I did all these things just to survive, and I actually kept an Excel spreadsheet of my daily expenditures, and I still remember the number. $4.30 was my average while I was at Harvard, because every day my goal was I would write down exactly what I spent, and I would try to beat that average.
Harvard changed your life, to say the least. You were kind of like a whiz kid. You started an internet company with two of your friends, raised $40 million, employed 150 people.
Yeah. In my second year of business school, another thing, a funny fact before I jump into that story is we were so poor at the time, my mom actually ended up living with me in the Harvard dorms.
Which was against regulations, of
against
course.
school policy, but we had no choice because my mom had no place to live, so she lived with me in the dorm, in my dorm room, and it was a tiny little room, and she had the bed and I had the floor. And again, none of my friends, I mean, maybe one or two of my closest friends knew, but most people didn't know that my mom was living with me. And in my second year, my mom, she just wanted me to have a great job, a secure job, and do something safe, and get the family out of poverty. And I had 4 or 5 job offers, and there were $250,000 job offers or whatever, and the safe thing was to do that. But in my second year, with 2 other people, I decided to start a company, an internet software company. And one thing led to another. We raised $40 million US, and we hired 150 people, and we graduated, and I turned all my job offers down, and I went to Silicon Valley and lived the dream. And my mom was going to shoot me. We were in San Francisco, and the company's offices were actually in my apartment with my other 2 co-founders, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and my 2 co-founders slept in the other room, and I slept with my mom, and our desks were there, and we actually had about 10 employees in that apartment.
Typical startup.
Yeah, but we would be sleeping there. So, and I had my mom, so it was really weird, strange, but that's the life of an entrepreneur, I guess. You're so poor, you're willing to do anything.
But eventually, the business got sold for $20 million.
Yeah.
Your first taste of real big money.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make that much money because at the time the venture capitalists had a big chunk of it, so I did make
enough to buy an apartment for mom.
Yes, yes. I did make money, but on the grand scheme of things, it wasn't money that I could live off the rest of my life comfortably. So, but yes, it was my first taste of getting out of the whole financial situation that I was in, definitely.
Talk to us about the difficulties you went through when you left Wall Street, and what is it that led you to leave Wall Street?
When you're dirt poor and you survive on $1 meal a day, I just would dream about money nonstop because it was the only way I could stop my suffering for my family, for my mom. So I really thought that money was the answer to happiness in life. That was, maybe immature, whatever it was. And once I became wealthy and I started making millions on Wall Street and being successful, as a managing director at Maverick Capital, a $15 billion hedge fund in New York, and a few other hedge funds, and I launched my own hedge fund as well. That's when it all hit me that money wasn't the only thing that drove me, and something was not, my soul wasn't fulfilled. And I think, after almost a decade on Wall Street, I want to do something with my life. Instead of taking, I wanted to give to the world and change the world.
Coming up.
Is it me, or is there a rivalry between mixed martial arts and boxing? Evolve. How was it born? It was by accident in a way, because you came to Singapore one day wanting to expand your hedge fund business. Yes,
yes. I actually we opened the Asian office for the hedge fund, for my hedge fund here in Singapore, and I was, a hedge fund manager here in Singapore, and there was no place for me to train in Muay Thai because I've been doing Muay Thai all my life, and I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, and there was literally nowhere you could train at a world-class level. I mean, the Singapore government just really underinvested in the sports industry in general. And it just hit me that, I could somehow...
But it must have been difficult starting the business, because back in 2008, when you started Evolve, there was no martial arts industry to speak of.
Yeah, it was pretty barren. I mean, I would say maybe in all of Singapore, there were maybe a total of 50 people who even knew about the sport of mixed martial arts. Literally 50 people in the entire country knew about mixed martial arts.
Who needed convincing? What did you need to do? What were the challenges you had to face?
I had to go to the Economic Development Board of Singapore. I had to go to the Ministry of Manpower. I had to do so many things because people were not, importing a world champion into Singapore. Singapore is a very paper-driven society. If you want to get an employment pass, you have to have a university degree, a recognized university degree that's verifiable and confirmed. And a lot of the world champions are uneducated. They don't even have a high school education. So I had to convince the Singapore government, the institutions, that this was a worthy business proposition. and to bring world champions into the country from all over the world.
But the reality as well is that you're providing work for these fighters when competition is over. Because without education, most of them, 90% of them, end up driving taxis, becoming security guards.
One of the things when I first started Evolve, after my career on Wall Street, I thought to myself of a company name. And I came up with the name Evolve because I wanted Evolve to be a place where every single person who's part of the Evolve family could evolve into everything they wanted to be in life. So whether it's our students, our instructors, our professional fighters, our staff, whatever what is your dream, you can inherit invaluable lessons and become what you wanted to be. Evolve Mixed Martial Arts has the most number of world champions of any martial arts school or academy or chain of academies around the world. And you're right, a lot of our world champions, actually most of our world champions, were earning $300 a month back home because their careers were over. They'd reached the superstar status and they lost all their money because they're, 99% of them are uneducated, don't know their finances, and were cheated out of by their managers or spent frivolously. And this is their second chance at making an income. And so, we provide 20 to 30x of what they were earning back home in Brazil or Japan or Thailand or US. We bring, and we bring the world's best here to Singapore. And that's one thing that I really enjoy about Evolve is watching how students think that they're being taught by world champions, that their lives are getting better. But students are also giving back to our instructors, to our world champions, and changing. So it's a whole virtuous cycle of everyone helping everybody to become everything you can be in life.
You've often said that MMA, mixed martial arts, transcends age, race, all the barriers, all the boundaries. What's the profile of those who go to your Evolve Academy?
The people who attend Evolve Academies is really from all walks of life. I mean, our youngest student is a 5-year-old girl. Our oldest is a 71-year-old man.
71?
71. We have executives, CEOs, MDs, we have nurses, we have engineers, we have teachers, literally all walks of life. And that's the biggest misconception about martial arts. People think that it's a male-dominated thing or that it's about violence. And like I said, it's really about the continuous improvement of yourself in all aspects. And when you inherit all these different gifts from martial arts, like confidence, mental strength, and courage, and unbreakable warrior spirit, you can go and conquer your dreams. You can go do anything.
Is it me, or is there a rivalry between mixed martial arts and boxing? Because when you take a look at reports being produced, you do get a sense that perhaps the Boxing Federation may not be happy, to put it mildly, about the growing popularity of mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a rivalry. I would say it's a one-way rivalry. I think boxing, the people who run boxing, who govern boxing, are not happy about mixed martial arts' rise to dominance. I mean, mixed martial arts is now the #1 combat sport around the world by a large margin, whereas boxing used to rule that, in my
Qualify
parents.
that.
Pay-per-view revenues, MMA is $500 million a year and growing. Viewership, stadium attendance, number of fighters, any metric you look at, mixed martial arts, is much bigger than boxing now and continuing to grow very quickly. And the global penetration of mixed martial arts is still only in the few percentage points. So the growth potential is unlimited for mixed martial arts. And I think that's a lot of detractors have come in to try to poo-poo mixed martial arts, but the reality is that the future's bright.
Life is a fight, yes, but the world has a lot more violence than we need. Isn't this a way of encouraging violence? What message are you sending to the young?
Actually, it's the exact opposite. And I think a great example was myself. When I was younger, I got into a lot of fights. But this was before I learned martial arts. Once I learned martial arts, it changed me. It made me more humble. It made me more disciplined. It gave me a focus. And also, when you're able to defend yourself, you get less picked on. You don't get bullies after you. So there's no reason to fight anymore. And so martial arts really changed my life, and it changed lots of our students' lives and our world champions. And that's the thing. When you learn martial arts, you learn a way to respect yourself, a way to respect others. You learn how not to be bullied. You get confidence, courage. And so there's so many lessons, and it actually makes the world a safer place. So that's, it's the irony is people who don't know very much about martial arts think that, hey, you're arming people. No, you're actually making this world a safer place.
Coming up.
I lost the fight, and it was very devastating to me because it made me realize that I was no longer this 18-year-old cocky kid anymore.
Fighters are cocky, aren't they? Chatri, you're betting big on the internet. You started Evolve University, where people can access the internet to learn martial arts.
Yes. Evolve University is my latest project that I really want to try to change the world. For the first time in history, anyone, anywhere can learn under a world champion 24/7 in Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, wrestling, boxing, and all the different martial arts. And I want to have millions of people change their lives through martial arts. And so Evolve University, you know, knock on wood, is now the world's largest online university for martial arts. And I'm very grateful that I have the chance to not only showcase our world champions all over the world, but be able to make this world a safer place by giving people access.
But why do you think that will work? Because people have tried to bring all sorts of sports onto the internet, even, you know, personal training. It hasn't worked. How do you pick up martial arts just by watching somebody without being tutored physically?
You know, of course, that's the challenge and the opportunity. I love it when people say, oh, it can't be done. That for me as an entrepreneur, that means I'm definitely going to show the world that I can do it. And something like martial arts that's the challenge. We spend a lot of time with our world champions saying, okay, how do we teach someone virtually? What kind of curriculum can we get from an absolute beginner, or whether it's an elite professional fighter who wants to become a world champion? We have curriculums for all different levels. And we wanted to really put all of our intellectual property together and showcase it to the world in the most well thought out manner. So for video production, we built a custom production studio, and we hired a whole team, a crew, and it's Evolve University is a separate company unto itself. And in a nutshell, our video quality is the highest quality in the world, whether it's graphics, animation, voiceovers, and really breaking down it. So of course the online university experience is different than our academies, but I really believe we have the best product in the world, and I really believe that people can actually learn. And this comes from someone who's been doing martial arts for 25 years. I broke it down, and I've been a student, a fighter, a coach, and a teacher. So I really spent a lot of time thinking about this problem and how to solve it.
You have huge plans, huge ambitions, but you're also big on pro bono work. Take us through some of the initiatives you've embarked on.
Well, I'm involved in 3 organizations right now. Project Sunshine, which is one of the world's largest volunteer organizations for terminally ill children with HIV and cancer. I'm on the board of directors of that. I'm also involved in Boys Town Home, which is Singapore's home for orphans and troubled children. And then we have Singapore Children's Society, which is for underprivileged kids. And basically, I want to transform their lives in Singapore through martial arts. So
why is it important for you to do that? Give back to the community.
Yeah, because again, I'm someone who has experienced poverty. I have seen the pain, and I have tons of friends who are all world champions who grew up as orphans or troubled kids, and I saw how martial arts could change their lives. And so for me, it's again, it's a win-win thing. It fulfills my soul to know that I'm doing the best to change the world, to make it a better place through martial arts. And at the same time, I know that these kids, all they want is a role model. All they want is a little hope, a little dream. And if martial arts can give them the skills and the tools with which to apply to life, it doesn't mean that they can be a professional fighter or a world champion. But again, I didn't become a world champion or professional fighter as a full-time living. What happened was I took all my lessons from martial arts, and I was able to apply it to the business world. And that's how I succeeded in the business world. And I can see that for kids, again, Boys Town Home is a great example. You have to have a minimum 3.0 GPA. You cannot smoke. You cannot drink. You cannot. Your teachers cannot say you've been a bad boy. You can't fight. There's so many things. And then guess what? If you do all that, you get to train at Evolve for free under our world champions. So I want to create a system where all these unwanted kids, troubled kids, orphans who don't have a hope, who don't have dreams, realize, well, I can go train with world champions who were like me when I was a kid, unwanted or troubled or an orphan. And I can change my life too. And it's even touched the souls of our world champions too, because they see those kids, they see themselves in those kids as well. So again, Evolve is really a holistic experience for me to change the world.
There are skeptics out there who say you're doing good for the community to bring your name up. Is there any?
Only I know what's in my heart. I cannot listen to the haters or to the doubters or whatever it is. I live my life. And if I do good in the world and all the haters think I'm the worst person in the world, but as long as I'm doing good in the world, that's the only thing that matters to me. And I know that I have impacted thousands of lives, you know, in Singapore, around the world, and hopefully millions one day when Evolve University ends up fulfilling what my vision is for it.
You're still fighting fit.
I wouldn't say so.
You train 5 times a week.
Yes, I try to. I mean, when my schedule doesn't go crazy, I train 5 to 6 times a week with our world champions. You know, I'll normally do Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, and I do it because I am a martial artist at heart. That's what I am, and I love martial arts. I love the journey of perpetual improvement, continuous self-improvement, improving myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I have a motto, or rather a philosophy that I tell all of my companies. Let's try to improve 1% a day as human beings. So whether it's as a father, as a son, as a mother, as a daughter, as a martial artist, as a businessman, I want to improve 1% a day, and I want all of my staff to improve 1% a day. And that's the spirit of Evolve.
Has there been a failure in your life?
Of course, I fail all the time, of course, for sure.
One would be?
5 years ago, I thought I could get back in the ring and fight professional Muay Thai, and it was 2008, end of 2008, I wanted to go fight a professional Muay Thai fight. I think I was 37, 38 years old, and I trained very hard for it. And I got knocked down and I lost the fight, and it was very devastating to me because it made me realize that Father Time had caught up with me, and that I was no longer this 18-year-old cocky kid anymore. And but you know, businesses.
Fighters are cocky, aren't they?
You know, I can tell you many, many more failures. I mean, I have tons of failures, and I think that's something that people shouldn't be afraid of failing. Failure is just a process along the way of becoming successful and finding who you are.
Chatri Sityodtong, thank you so much for being on High Flyers. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you so much, I
Thank you.
appreciate it.